Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like it's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this short course. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is up, everybody? It's another episode of the Slap and Meat Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, WeTooDeep, and with me is co-host DJ Wavy D, just like always.
What's going on, folks? How y'all doing?
We got some stuff to talk about. We got that big press conference that happened last Thursday. We're going to spend a lot of time there. Maybe go over a little bit of SmackDown from Charlotte. I guess you could say I was in the building.
Yeah, you were in the building barely.
But before we get to all of that, let's go back about a week. Wednesday, AEW promoted a big announcement.
Huge announcement.
A huge announcement. This big announcement that Tony Khan had, and it came out that it's just a show at TD Garden. And everyone's, it's the debut of Mercedes Moné. She's going to AEW. I gave my opinion a little bit last week on my sort of rant about The Rock, which is crazy because I sent that out on Friday, and no, it was Thursday. I sent it out Thursday, and that same night he turned heel like I said he should. So I'm not saying I write the script, but anyway, so I more so want to ask Wavy D here. What's your sort of feeling on this big announcement?
So I definitely think that you covered most of it on your rant. But yeah, I like Tony Khan and his big announcements. Like, when are we gonna start calling them big announcements? You know what I'm saying? Because oh my gosh, you're having a show at the TD Garden, like the second most famous garden. It might be top 5. I mean, I'm a Celtics fan. I love Celtics. I love TD Garden, but you got Madison Square Garden. You got like the what's called Botanical Garden. You know what I'm saying? Like the flowers and all that. It's not even the most famous garden. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But no, I mean, it's a Tony Khan thing to do to announce a big week show, not week as in WEEK, not WEAK. It's a big weekly show. I mean, if Sasha Banks does debut, okay, it's a big show, but what's the follow up to it? You know what I'm saying? Right. AEW does a good job. I'll give them credit. They do a good job at making debuts seem very important when they debut. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that what happens the 2 weeks after the debut.
Right.
Like when Edge debuted AEW, it was a big thing. I watched the clip. It was a big thing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the problem is what happens 2 weeks after that star is there. What happens a month later? They fade away and they're having matches on Rampage against like Jeff Hardy.
Right.
So if Sasha Banks can break the routine of having a big debut and then 3 weeks later is another girl, say if she could break that mold and be the big time boss, and be, Mercedes Moné, big time money, all that good stuff. If she can do that, that's amazing. Right. There's also rumors that Okada's also signed. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't debut both of them.
Right. On the same. Right.
I was a huge fan when Randy came back and CM Punk came back right after that. I was a huge fan of that.
Right.
You got them. One of them's going to overshadow the other one.
Right.
So yeah, that's my main thoughts.
Right. So like I said in my rant, my main concern with Sasha Banks showing up is, like you said, okay, what happens in a month when the sort of honeymoon phase is over? But this may be a hot take. I know there's a lot of people who think that Sasha Banks is the best women's wrestler on the planet. I don't. I'm not a big fan of her necessarily, I don't see anything that she does anything better than someone like a Charlotte or Becky. To me, she's overshadowed by the rest of the 4 horsewomen. She's number 4 of the 4. And I know that's a hot take, but okay. I would assume you put Bailey under her. Or
yeah,
Becky.
but Bailey's about a springboard and possibly pass her.
Right.
Well,
so
up until now, yeah.
I'm with you there, but Becky to me is number 1, and it's really, really close between her and Charlotte. And then I guess you could say 3 and 4 are really, really close between Bailey and Sasha. I would put Bailey at 3, but I don't necessarily think Sasha's all that good on the mic. She's quite awful, to be honest with you. And her in-ring ability, it's good. She's a good wrestler, but she does nothing that takes her to that next level. And maybe some of that was the fact that Vince McMahon never really gave her consistent booking. But yeah, I don't see this as a big, huge announcement that everyone in AEW thinks it's going to be. And I'm going to again assert this. I know my brother on his podcast Thursday tried to call me out and be like, "Oh, Okada's coming." No, he's not. I'm 100% guaranteeing that Kashika Okada is WWE.
No, I think you and your brother need to get like a little wager going. Because you guys are running out of time. You know what I'm saying? But right now, while both of you guys are 100% sure, we need to get a little wager between the two of you.
Wager. Well, I'll see if we can get something going. But there's that. Let's talk about this press conference before we get into the thing everyone watched the press conference for, which was Roman Reigns, The Rock, and Cody. We got an intro or an announcement of a new, I guess we can call it, show called WWE Speed. It's not really, if you paid attention to social media and like the dirt sheets, you kind of knew what this was, but we got some more information about it. It's going to be like 5-minute matches that they post on X on a weekly basis. Probably going to be like dark matches. So we were talking a little bit before we clicked record. What's your sort of idea? Do you like this idea? Do you think it'll work?
So I like it as far as it will give some of the lower talent who do the dark matches. It'll give them a little more exposure. Right. I definitely wouldn't put the dark matches that like when they're like testing out for like a future story. You know, like when they put talents in the ring to see if they work well heading into a future feud. I definitely wouldn't do that. But yeah, if you're doing like the 1 or 2 matches that they do before a SmackDown or a Raw, like that's in front of the crowd, if you like post them after the show on X, I wouldn't mind that. It's gonna be like Cancel Ray versus Xia Li, right. I mean, it has an audience, and like at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt. Like I feel like you're not spending too much money or wasting too many resources just to post a match. Like I'm pretty sure the cameras are rolling anyways. The camera's probably constantly recording. Even though it doesn't make the TV, I'm sure there's a camera that just constantly rolls. And so yeah, you just take that, you trim it down, throw it on X. You get some impressions. You could probably slap an ad or 2 on that. Like it's just another way of income. Right. So I definitely don't see it as a negative. Is it a needle mover? No. But it's definitely not a negative. And yeah, you get to see some of your lower talents that you don't get to see every week. Right. So I like it.
Yeah. So I'm of the same mindset as you. Anything that can get some of these guys like Cedric Alexander or Odyssey Jones, which he got drafted a year ago and still hasn't debuted on Raw yet. So like any of these guys who we don't see on Omos, that we don't see on TV on a week-to-week basis, anything to get them in the ring and to get exposure to them, I'm all for. I'm with you as well. Like I don't like so after SmackDown on Friday, we had Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. Please don't ever put that match on a WWE Speed. Yeah. That match is so. I mean, it's a dark match to send the crowd home happy because Cody won. But that would be like putting John Moxley versus Adam Page on Rampage, like which AEW has done before. But it doesn't make sense. They're too big for this type of segment. But anything to get a guy like Cedric more exposure. So maybe you're doing like a test tryout match for an NXT superstar
Yeah,
to move up. Definitely do that. I'm all for it. And so
almost like NXT Level Up.
right,
How they air that on YouTube there, and
right.
then but back to your Solo thing real fast. Did you? I don't know if you saw the fun fact. Solo Sikoa is currently 0-23 since his match against John Cena.
That's crazy. I did
So
not see that.
TV/house matches. Yeah, he's 0-23.
That's crazy because they had pushed him to where like he never lost ever.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, you
crazy.
think about it, he's only had like 4 TV matches,
Right.
and half of them ended like DQs or no contests.
Right.
But yeah, they're like all house shows that he faced like Cody Rhodes or like Randy Orton or something like that, or AJ.
Wow, that's crazy. It's a good thing wins and losses don't mean anything, but that's a different episode
And
for a different
for you old heads, not quite old because it's me and We2Deep's time, but I think that this WWE Speed show is going to have a lot of like a lot of nostalgia and memories, such as like Velocity and Sunday Night Heat. I think they could build on it like that. Like those shows were fire. Velocity and Heat. I love
Right.
those shows.
I think it would also be cool to have. I need different. I can't have Monday Night Raw's commentary on. Like, give me someone new to try him out. Throw him on X. Byron Saxton.
Byron's back. He had a good show in the
on NXT. Yeah.
I guess on NXT last week.
Yeah, I've never understood why they took him off the table.
Justice for Byron.
Justice
we want hashtag we want Byron.
Absolutely.
We want Saxton.
I think he would fit well on Raw. I've always felt that Raw needed a third commentator, just to sort of split. I mean, but with Cole and McAfee, I think it's enough energy.
Yeah.
And so maybe not, but I
like the Byron and Corey Graves dynamic. I always like how they bicker back and forth.
Yeah.
Speaking of Raw, real fast, did you get a chance to watch yesterday's episode yet?
Not the full thing. I've seen like bits and pieces of it.
So did you notice like the black accent around the Raw, like around the graphics and everything? How Raw and the rest of the screen was like black. I like the vibe and the air, like the ambiance it gave the arena.
Yeah, they've done a lot. They've done good at presentation since Kevin Dunn's left. They've really changed it.
These camera angles during that tag match, that first tag match.
Yeah,
camera angles are crazy. I like it.
I mean, well, once you get rid of Kevin Dunn, who likes to switch cameras every 2 seconds. But moving forward onto the rest of this press conference, and really more so the fallout of what I'm calling the slap in Sin City. The Rock laid his hands on Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes did respond last night. So just what's your feeling on this story to current date? Like, do you like where we're headed? Where do you think we're headed?
I'm just saying, before I get into that, I think that this is the closest Chris Rock is going to get to his comeuppance. You know what I'm saying? Because Cody Rhodes he got Chris rocked. But anyways, let's see. So I did not watch the presser live. I watched it shortly after it aired. I think it was from like 5 to 6, something like that.
It was like 7 to 8.
So I watched it right after it finished up. I came back from work and I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw a little bit of going on in the Discord slightly. So, but I watched it from start to end, and I was really sports entertained. Yeah. I like Triple H's opening promo, like what Paul Heyman had to say backstage, and then they definitely progressed the story in a way I didn't quite see coming between The Rock and Cody. Excuse me, between The Rock, Cody, Roman, and Seth. I think during the presser they made Seth look a little too much like a background character or like too much of a supporting act. But they made up for him this past Monday night. They made up for it. But at first I was like, okay, so how's The Rock gonna side with Roman? Like, how are they gonna do that? But then, I get what they're going for, but I think it made The Rock look a little soft, a little Sherman soft. You know what I'm saying? He was looking like some Sherman toilet paper because Roman was the first one to bring up like the family and like Cody's family and all that stuff and his legacy, and then Cody just responded by saying, "Yeah, your grandpa's gonna be ashamed of you," and then The Rock was like, "You talk about his family, you talk about my family."
Right.
You talk about his blood. You talk about my blood, and he smacked him. And I was like, okay, I get. We're shifting The Rock to be with Roman, which I'm on board with. I like it. I just thought it made The Rock look a little sensitive and a little dull, a little dumb. Right. I was like, your boy is the one that started it.
Right.
I was like, if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen because I know you're trying to cook, but you're not. I can smell you cooking, but it's weak. But yeah, I do feel like Cody held his own, and I'm excited for this. I assume we'll probably get into a little bit of like a little fantasy booking in a little bit. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the presser?
So I think I'm a little bit different than where you are. I think I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I think this to me, I think my issue more so is with the response to it, because everyone I've seen respond to it since it's happened has said, "Oh, WWE pivoted from their original plans." I don't think this is a pivot. I thought that I'm going to stay with my belief that this has been the plan from the get-go. Rock posted, I think on X sometime in January, that he wants the match with Roman, but he's a long-term story guy. I've always felt that when he joined the board, that he was looking for that long-term story, that if he was going to do it, he needed that long-term, year-long build, that he cared more about the build than the actual match itself, which is what I think everyone should care about. The match isn't going to be anything special. And so I've always felt that a rushed 3-month build wasn't going to be big enough for how big this main event would be. So I always thought 41 was going to be the WrestleMania we got. Roman versus The Rock. And I think they're setting it up perfectly. I don't know necessarily, if anything, I think this makes Roman look a little soft. Because Roman's been, Rock gets there, they shake hands, and Roman sort of just takes a back seat. Apparently he's no longer tribal chief when The Rock's around, because The Rock's making all the decisions. And so I think whatever happens, it's going to be a great story, and that's all I care about, is what's the story leading up to it, and can you entertain me with it? And I've always said there's always that swerve. I hate fantasy booking the bloodline storyline, because the one thing you think is going to happen doesn't happen, and they give you something no one ever thought. I never thought Rock was going to turn heel ever again. Never thought it would happen. I figured at some way they would sort of make it to, I thought a triple threat would happen. And so I enjoyed it. I guess my big question coming out of it, and I'm not the type of person that likes to really sort of like come out of these obviously storyline type press conferences and like, oh, well, we didn't get any answers from this. I must figure out what's going to happen. I'm going to sit here and enjoy the ride. So, but the big question coming out of it is, when's this tag team match happening? Because they obviously set up Seth and Cody versus Roman and The Rock. Now, I personally believe that's the WrestleMania main event. That's what I believe. I don't believe one word that Triple H stated last Friday that it's going to be Roman and Cody, and the Rock can't pull his sitting on the board card to get what he wants. No, there's a reason The Rock and Roman Reigns are going to be on SmackDown this week, and they're going to basically tell Triple H, we run this show, you can't stop us. And Roman's not fighting Cody. And I think My question now then is, does Triple H get involved? There's so many different rabbit holes that you can go down. So I'm here for the ride. I'm not going to try to guess anything. I'm just going to let it happen.
My thought process is, so if we do Roman versus Cody in a 1v1 or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You put The Rock in Roman's quarter, you know, like ringside or whatever, then Seth was saying Monday Night Raw that he got Cody's back. Seth will be ringside or whatever. So if they do the 1v1 Roman versus Cody, like what does Seth do on night one or whatever? Because I'm assuming Seth is going to wrestle a match on night one for his title. I guess he's facing the winner of the Chamber. That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to face the winner of the Chamber. Unless Priest cashes in, but I don't think Priest is going to cash in before Mania. I think he can cash in after.
Well, I don't know if you've seen like the headlines, but Damian Priest came out and said like he can't cash in because Seth is injured, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I guess they did something similar to this back in what year was it? It wasn't the first time that they addressed this. I want to say it was. I want to say it was when Daniel Bryan was champion. I forget when it was, but they were talking about it on Twitter and stuff like that. But or WrestleMania, something like that. But my thing is like, what does Seth do night one? I'm assuming he faces the winner of the Chamber, and my guess is Priest cashes in after WrestleMania, probably like the night after Mania or something like that, or sometime down the line to give Seth a break.
Right.
But and then I know another way you can go is like, say if they do the tag team match at this Mania, you do, but they can't do that now because at the Chamber. But I was thinking you do a tag team match, winner takes all world titles. You know what I'm saying? You put Seth's title on the line for The Rock to get, and you put Roman's title on the line for Cody to get, and the winner takes all, yada yada. But you can't do that now because Seth is doing the Elimination Chamber winner match at Mania.
Right.
I was also thinking you do Cody versus Roman with The Rock as special guest referee, and then The Rock screws over Cody, but he aligned as a heel too early, so now that's out the window. And so now my new thing, I think we get the So here's what I was telling y'all in the Discord chat for Wavy D's big prediction. So Wavy D's big prediction for Mania is we get the ultimate dusty finish. All right. We get Cody pinning Roman, but Roman's foot is under the bottom rope or on the rope. The ref misses it. And so Cody finishes the night with his hand held high, quote unquote, finishing the story, holding the title, fireworks go off or whatever. And then the next Monday night on Raw, the very next night, Roman's out in the ring with The Rock or whoever and the higher ups, and he gets the decision reversed. So that way Cody gets a taste of it, but then he gets that dusty finish like his father got, and then he's not a recognized champion in the eyes of the record books. And then Roman gets his title back. He continues his
reign never ended, right?
Yep.
That's crazy. That would be insane.
Put me in the writers' room, bro. Put me in the writers' room.
Man, Wavy D been cooking over there. So yeah, I like that idea a lot. Trying to I guess overall, do you think that WWE does more of these like press conference type thing? I think with them joining Endeavor and being part of like UFC, I think their presentation is going to be a lot more UFC-ish with the press conferences and like weigh-ins. And
I definitely liked it. I also liked what they did with Becky and Rhea. I thought that was really good.
Yeah,
you got them a little hyped and a little build up. Even though it seems like they're gonna definitely have Becky win, it's almost like a spoiler in a way. I mean, they can still swerve it, but I do like it.
I've seen a lot of hate that Bayley wasn't involved in this.
True.
I personally don't think that her match necessarily. It's a mid-card match. It's not the main event, and I hate to say it, but Bianca Belair is the top woman on that locker room right now.
And if you look at it, her match is already set in stone. The other matches they're kind of pushing were matches that we don't really have an opponent for yet.
Right.
Like Cody and Rock wasn't quite set in stone yet. Cody Roman wasn't set in stone, and then neither was Rhea or she was going to face wasn't set in stone.
Right.
So I mean, I guess it's understandable why she wasn't there.
Right. So we'll move a little bit. Talk about last Friday SmackDown. Just talk about it a little bit. I was in the arena, but I was in heaven basically at the top of the arena.
Give the fans your rundown, like your experience at a WWE live event.
So if you've never gone to a Raw or a SmackDown, definitely go. Even if it's a $20 seat, don't be afraid to go up there. It's not that bad of a view. And so, the one thing I will say, I don't know how the crowd sounded on TV. I never went back to watch it. But for the most part, they were pretty loud in the arena. And I'll say this: as much as I'm disappointed that for the second year in a row, WWE has come to Charlotte and Roman Reigns wasn't on the card, for me to acknowledge him, I understand. I got to see Triple H. I got to see Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes was a dark match. Gunther was a dark match. So I saw some of the guys that I liked. But it's kind of crazy that every single time I go to a show, the next week they put on like a big card. They got Rock, they got Tiffany, they got Roman all this week and in Utah. But God forbid we come to Charlotte, North Carolina, and
a wrestling state,
right? And I mean, let me tell you something though. This might be R-Truth may have been the loudest pop I've ever heard in an arena. When he came out as part of the Gunther Dark match. And he's a North Carolina sort of legend, so I expected him to be there. He's from Charlotte, so yeah. But overall, I mean, it was pretty. I mean, I've been to a couple hundred wrestling shows, so it's nothing's gonna beat me going to WrestleMania. I definitely, if you can't, or if you can ever save up to go to Mania, definitely do it. Do the whole weekend, get that experience. But
how would you describe like the main difference based on like what you see in the arena versus what you see on TV?
I think the bigger difference is when you're there live, like you don't realize they're under commercial unless you pay attention and you know what you're looking for. If you guys haven't figured out, like when they do all these moves outside the ring, a big dive happens and then they over exaggerate the impact, they're going to commercial. But when you're in the arena and you're into the match and you're cheering, you don't even realize a lot of times that they're under commercial. But with that, when a segment ends, like a promo ends and then they go straight to commercial and it's like a long, like 3 minute in between segments and nothing happens, that can be a long 3 minutes if you're not used to it. So WWE does try to do a lot of like fan cams type stuff, which is always cool. I will say, there were a couple signs that were on TV. I know you put something in the Discord, like go smack the teeth out of that guy that said that we want Stardust.
Yes.
There's a dude who had a Buffalo Bill sign that made no sense, and someone had a Dijak section sign, and that made no sense either. But
I saw a Santi Zap sign.
Look, everyone loves Santi. Everyone loves Santi.
I'm a Tesh guy. I love them both. I love them both, but I'm a Tesh guy.
Right. I'm more of a Santi guy, but I can't hate. I wish they'd get back together because their little like guess the wrestler thing that they did was one of my favorite things on TikTok. So I don't know necessarily all of the situation that happened, why they sort of, I guess they split up.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. From my understanding from watching them is that it was started with the two of them, and then there was 4 people for a straight shoot. It was the two of them, Weezy and Kevin.
Right.
And then everyone's schedules just from what I know, they didn't really mesh or mix up well. They kind of want to do like different content, so they kind of all started doing their own thing again, and they also love each other. They're also
Right,
foes.
right,
The communities are a lot of the same members are in the communities.
right. Absolutely.
Sandy did another podcast, and then Tesh got his he owns Straight Shoot, and he's with Con Man now, and they do their thing. It's some good folks right now, guys. You guys are spoiled. You guys
Yeah.
got some good folks in the wrestling content creator space. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Wrestle Talk, Wrestle Twitter, the community in terms of content, it's gotten a lot better over the last couple of years. It used to be really, really bad. But you got a lot of people putting in a lot of effort and time to make quality stuff. So with that, I haven't really got much more planned other than these questions from Discord. We got 3 from Bmaster and 1 from Kara. And then we'll end it with the Thirsty Tuesday like we always do. Let's do these questions first. So Bmaster asks, if I am a wrestler and just got called up from NXT, what is something that I can do to make my mark to get to the next level of Cena or Bianca? That A tier, sort of S tier echelon of superstar. What are some things you think that you have to do to get there?
I think the main thing you got to do, the very most important thing, is have charisma and be able to talk on the mic. It doesn't matter how great in the ring you are, your in ring ability will only get you so far. Like we've seen case after case of wrestlers who can do everything in the ring. For example, so you got your Ricochets of the world. He can talk a little bit. He's not the greatest talker. You got Braun Strowman, who's a good in-ring talent, not the greatest talker in the world. The list is countless. T. Malenko, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Cesaro, Claudio, yeah,
Cesaro, amazing in the ring, not a great talker. So like, you can be the best wrestler in the world, but if you don't have the charisma and you can't talk on the mic that well, especially compared to your comrades and your fellow wrestlers, then that's definitely gonna bring you down a lot. Even Brock, like Brock Lesnar, like he's not like the greatest talker, but if you give him a mic, he's entertaining.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, of course he had mouthpiece, but
he didn't need that mouthpiece though. He can carry himself.
Yeah, like we've seen through Cowboy Brock the past like 2.5 years, like that. Like, he's entertaining on his own. Like he could talk a decent amount. And yeah, so if you want to get on the level of a John Cena or Bianca Belair, I definitely say you need the charisma. You got to be able to connect with the audience. Like in ring, you just got to be safe and have like 5 good moves. That's all you really need.
Right. So I definitely would agree with that. I'd also say that you have to be able to adapt to whatever creative tells you to do. Like, I know there's a lot of people who feel like I'm not going to lose to and I know Cena politics, but he's earned the right to pick his opponents now. But like when Cena started, like he was out there working 360 days a year, not complaining. He didn't complain about anything. He did what he needed to do. He connected with the fan base in the arena, but also outside. And it's really, you have to present yourself in a gimmick that the fans will be able to connect to, whether for Cena, whether it was ruthless aggression versus Kurt Angle, or if it was thugonomic Cena, word life, or if it's now the new sort of PG Super Cena. Whatever that character, how it evolved, it evolved in a way that allowed the fans to still cheer for him. And Bianca does the same thing. She has a gimmick. I was there a lot. There was a little girl, 2 little girls sitting in front of me. As soon as her music played, they had the little hats with the little braid on it, and they were swinging it with them. Like, there's a reason she is the way she is, right? And there's that little something extra, as crazy as it is, the long braid that's never going away, because it's able to sell merch, but 2, it connects with the fans. And so, you have people like a Claudio or like Cesaro who, yeah, cool, you can wrestle, but dude, you have the charisma of a wet paper bag. No one connects you. Your music hits and there's no reaction. So, it to me, the whole, they did this on SmackDown with Tyler Bate in that tag match where he did like a test of strength, basically, where he had the one dude, I forgot who it was, on his shoulders, and then he had the other dude by the legs and spun him around.
Yes.
That's not impressive to me. Like, okay, cool, you're strong, I get it, but Tyler Bate, you're not interesting at all. You can't talk. I don't care about that. That match was probably the only match I wasn't really entertained by. And I think they made the worst, the bad booking decision of not putting DIY over. But obviously they're going to probably get the Mania spot. But I don't know. I don't think anyone will ever get to the level of Cena, personally. I think Cody's as close as they get. But I mean, you look at what Cody is. Like, he's a company guy. He does what he's asked. And he connects with the fan base. Is he the best in the ring? He's decent. But, his matches are predictable. But that's all you need. That's all you need. You don't need to be flashy and, put on the, super kick parties and all this stupid shit that doesn't add to the show because it makes zero sense. So I don't know. Just keep it basic. Do what you need to do to get over, connect with the fans, and be able to present and make money. That's really all it really boils down to.
Facts.
Bmaster's next question. Do you think sharing talent with other promotions is a good or bad thing? I'll let you start on that one as well.
I think it is good to a certain extent. Like, I did. If you and the company that you're sharing with are equals, then it's fine. It's cool. But then also, if you're like the bigger company, where it's, like the main example or one example that's main, and this is WWE and TNA. So if they go forward with their partnership and they share talent to a certain extent, because I'll be honest, WWE doesn't need TNA.
Right.
So WWE would do just fine on their own. So, but if they want to bring in like a Jordan Gracie, for Royal Rumble, that's awesome. If they want to bring in, I don't know, say they're having like a Mae Young Classic tournament or whatever, so 12 women wrestlers from all over the world competing for like the tournament cup, and you want to bring in like a, I don't know, like a Zaya Brookside or whatever, or you want to bring in like a Chris Statlander for your tournament. That's amazing, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we know that they're probably not going to win because historically WWE doesn't really put over outside talent. If they're gonna like teamwork with you and like collab with you, especially in their bigger matches, they're gonna put their own talent over.
Right.
You might get a small win on the undercard, the lower card, but like when it comes down to it, for the main event or for the big prizes, the big stuff, WWE's got to go over. And if you want to look at a lower level where you have like AEW and TNA sharing, or AEW and New Japan sharing, at that point, like the part where it gets murky is because you're murking up the waters on like your talent. It's like, okay, is this guy AEW guy? Is this guy a New Japan guy? Is he just an indie guy who they bring in every once in a while? It makes it hard to identify that talent with your company. Right. You know what I'm saying? If you have like Will Ospreay, for example, if he's jumping between TNA, AEW, New Japan for the whole year, having like 4 matches in all the companies, and the average fan isn't going to identify Will Ospreay with your brand. Right. It's going to identify him as like the indie god. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to say, oh, that's Will Ospreay from AEW. He's AEW's like number one guy. Like, now they're going to look at him as the indie guy or just a really good wrestler. Right. But whereas if you say someone like, even someone to the example of like a Natalia, you're going to say, oh, she's a WWE superstar.
Right.
She's a WWE like legend. Saying she's a WWE legend, and so along with sharing your talent, you have to do it in a way that helps you, and
Right.
a way that helps your brand.
Right. So I'm somewhat along the same lines as you. I'm going to say that I personally believe it's a bad thing because it's just the nature of the business. I don't think that there's a way where two companies who are in competition with each other can share athletes or superstars and both of them benefit. So like for WWE, they get zero benefit bringing in Jordan Grace at
Eh,
all.
I think
Um,
Jordan Grace is different because he's a freak in nature.
right. So it was a big pop. I mean, even I popped a little bit when she came out. Same thing sort of with when oh shit, what the fuck's her name? Mickey James when she came out last year with the TNA music and the
Mm-hmm.
belt. I like it's that big pop. I get it, but long term, like WWE would not benefit from Jordan Grace being in a long term program representing TNA. I don't think that benefits WWE. It's not going to give them any more viewers. It would, however, benefit TNA for that to happen. And so I don't necessarily like the idea because of something that would happen if we historically go back to what happened a couple years ago with AEW and TNA, where Tony Khan promised this big partnership, this forbidden door had been crossed, and TNA did not benefit one bit from that partnership. Kenny Omega came in, took the title off their champion, and held it for like 6 months. And so now TNA doesn't have a world champion for 6 months. And I'm not, and we'll actually get into a question about that here in a minute, but I'm just not a big fan of that. I don't necessarily think, especially within WWE, because they're so big and they sort of present themselves as like a separate universe outside of like what we would consider like the real world. It's the WWE universe. And so when you have someone who's not a part of that universe come in and sort of break that fourth wall, I think it breaks whatever is left of kayfabe. And so I mean, wrestling has to decide: do we want to present wrestling as in the world of kayfabe, or is it dead? Because I feel like there are wrestlers who try to hold on to it. There are shows who try to hold on to it. And then there's other parts of the industry that try to get rid of it. And so I don't know, just presentation wise, like I think it really gets messy when you try to, WWE's never going to have Roman Reigns go in and lose to anyone from any other company ever. So maybe your mid card, like you were saying, maybe that makes some sense. They've sent Shinsuke to do some Japanese shows, but Cody Rhodes will never be sent to go to New Japan to represent WWE. He's too big of a star, and he's definitely not losing if he does go. And so when you have the egos of New Japan and AEW and WWE and TNA, and everyone wants their stars to get over, it gets really difficult to sort of work a partnership like that.
Now, I mean, so to kind of go into Bmaster's next question, how do you feel about having someone not on your roster come in and become your world champion? I mean, I'm assuming he means from an outside company. I don't know if he means like from Raw to SmackDown or whatever. But
right, so I'm assuming he would say like, what if Moose came over and beat Seth Rollins?
So I don't want to say to become the world champion, but I do think it'd be interesting. For example, say if Jordan Gracie or another knockout actually came in and did win the Royal Rumble, and now you have like a 3-month program of like you got to kind of tune into WWE and TNA to see a story following along, like I don't know, say like Rhea Ripley versus Jordan Gracie, and then you're following along like a 2 or 3 month story, kind of going back and forth between the two shows,
right?
And, I mean, of course, Rhea goes over at Mania, but imagine if Rhea's over at TNA maybe like once a month, having like a match against like I'm not even fully sure who the roster is at the moment. That's kind of like another reason why, only TNA kind of benefits from the situation. But I do like I've watched some TNA matches and I've seen their roster where like their women can actually perform. It's just that they're not household names. I don't watch TNA product like that. But when I do watch them, their women, they can go. So I'm sure you can see some banger matches. But again, as far as like namesake, you're only gonna get the WWE name.
Right. I feel right. And so I think if it was like someone from TNA going to AEW, where I believe they're a little bit closer in stature, I think I would be somewhat okay with it, as long as it benefits both companies. But like if Jordan Grace walking in and winning the AEW Women's Championship from Toni Storm, I think that's a good story. It makes sense. They're sort of considered the same tier of show. But Jordan Grace going in and beating Rhea Ripley, this doesn't make any sense ever. It makes WWE look weak. You just lost to a C tier show. And so
sorry, I was gonna say if someone like a Dolph Ziggler / Nick Nemeth, right?
Right.
So he just left WWE, whatever. Say he goes to TNA, he's built up his name, he becomes TNA World Champion. Say if he enters the Royal Rumble and he wins, and then at that point you have a person who WWE is familiar with, the audience is familiar with, and then say you build a program between say him and Priest going into next year's Mania, or him and Seth going into next year's Mania.
So on paper, that idea works fine. The problem with that is WWE would not present him as Nick Nemeth. They would present him as Dolph Ziggler, the same way they did with Trinity. She came back as soon as her music hit. Oh, it's Naomi. She's back. And so I almost feel like these people who go to and make a name, unless you're Cody Rhodes or AJ Styles and you get to keep your name, it's almost like all of that hard work. Like with Matt Cardona came back, as they wouldn't push him as Matt Cardona. One, that's his legal birth name, so WWE wouldn't use it for copyright reasons. But two, he's Zack Ryder to the WWE universe. And this is sort of where I'll stick on is like, it would be one, like if Scarlett Johansson, she played in a movie and then that character showed up in a Marvel movie. She's Black Widow in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it would be one, like if another one of her characters, or if John Wick showed up in a Matrix movie, that's Neo, not John Wick. So I think it's really difficult when you present yourself as the only company that exists, and Triple H is really trying to break this. Vince did a much stricter job at sort of, we don't address anything that doesn't happen in WWE because we're our own entity. We're our own universe. And that's sort of the mindset I'm in. I actually like that mindset. Because it does set you apart. Why does Vince McMahon not care about AEW in competition? Because they don't exist to him in his product. He's not going to book around what some indie mark is booking in another company because it doesn't exist to him. Now, outside of the show, I'm sure he was worried about it, but he's not going to address it. He's not going to address TNA and what Trinity did in TNA. And
I do think it's different in the aspect where, like, Triple H wouldn't work with or acknowledge AEW because I think the way AEW presents themselves, always take shots at WWE. But I feel like he's more open to a partnership with TNA because TNA kind of knows their role. To whereas they're not taking these unnecessarily weekly shots at WWE.
Correct.
And
I agree with that.
They're not run by kind of a jerk off. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed. Well, that's a whole different question.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll get to Scott D'Amore stuff. I forget. I don't know if we touch on that last week. The Scott D'Amore thing.
I talked about it a little bit on my little rant, but we haven't talked about it on this show.
Then, I mean, there are a few stars where a few wrestlers that kind of like break the copyright rule of like their own name, because you have the Brock Lesnar's of the world or the
Right.
Mavens of the world who kind of like use their legal name in wrestling, and
Mhm.
like I feel like there might maybe one guy you might be able to get away with this in the future, maybe like a Gable Steveson if he ever performs on like
Boy,
televised TV. I know he's getting booed out the building,
yeah.
and it's like go away heat. But like also, you have the Kurt Angles of the world. So I mean, like it's not unheard of to to be able to get to the next level with your legal name. So
It's gonna be
if
it's
one of
gonna
these
be a
guys
little bit
can,
yeah, it's gonna be a little bit harder in WWE now just for legal reasons. It's actually part of the contract now that because of what happened with
Kurt Angle.
not Kurt Angle, but there were several wrestlers who they wanted to make money on Twitch, but
Okay, yeah,
because so WWE's contract, if you didn't know, their old contract under Vince before the buyout or before Triple H really took over stated that WWE owned not only the um, character name but the legal name of the performer. So like Zelina Vega's I forgot what her real name is, but so she was one of the big ones where she was I think her real name's like Thea Trinidad, I think is her real name. And so she had a Twitch channel under her legal birth name and was
yeah,
making money off of it. And WWE basically said you either pay us a certain percent or you're not allowed to do it anymore.
hmm,
And so sort of as the compromise was, well, we won't copyright your legal name, but you're not allowed to go buy it on TV. So, of course, there's people who are grandfathered in like Cena and Brock Lesnar. But, Gable Steveson, I highly doubt they're going, because he built his sort of brand around that name, they'll let him use it.
yeah,
But I don't think a lot of that's sort of the reason why, Gunther had to change his name from Walter. And I think Triple H is going to be a little bit more fair in doing so as a way to let these indie people that he signed, that way he doesn't copyright their independent name. That way when they do get released or decide to move on,
yeah.
they can go back
Yeah,
and you
that's unfair as hell. Like if I'm wrestling for you as DJ Wavy D,
right,
I can't go on Twitch as Big Dev. Like I can't go on Twitch.
right.
That's wild.
Yeah. I think they're changing the policy or
They
have
definitely
changed it.
should. Like
Um
t-
but
these superstars got unionized, bro. Get yourself stop being an independent contractor and get yourself a little union and get y'all some rights. Come on now.
mhm,
Especially if we're leaving the Vince era and we're under TKO and all this stuff, big
I think
business. We
mm,
gotta get this.
I don't know if I'd go the union route just personally. I I do think that they need to come together and demand certain things, but I'm not the biggest fan of unions to begin with.
I'm gonna
Just
say
personally,
you need something like I know the
I think
wrestlers get health care if they get hurt in the ring, but like if I get hurt because I slip on ice, walk into the airport,
right,
and
right, right, right,
like
absolutely,
you're on your own.
right,
That's
absolutely,
tough.
absolutely. I do definitely believe, um, and then I think I've touched on this a little bit in the past. I think companies themselves have to be better at, hey, Vince is gone. This old school mindset of you're independent and we're not going to pay you. We're going to treat you as a 1099 employee, but you're an independent contractor. None of that makes any sense to anybody.
Yeah,
But I don't necessarily think you need a union to fix that. Hey, companies, WWE, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. Provide healthcare. It's not that hard.
yeah,
You provide it to all your office employees. So I
yeah.
think the problem has to be, you don't really need a union. Just demand to be an employee, not a contractor.
I would say get something like the NBA, how they got like the Players Association,
Right.
who they negotiate on behalf of the
So
players.
wrestling would be really really hard to unionize though. And some of the bigger problems with it would be, if I'm an American citizen, we can unionize in America and we are under American union laws.
Hmm.
But New Japan wouldn't be under that law. And
Well,
so
I'm talking just straight from WWE's perspective.
true, true. So I mean WWE is really the only company who could do it. AEW does a decent job taking care of their employees. They at least have employee status. They're not contractors. I do think they need some change. They definitely need to be able to have benefits and some sort of payment guarantee. I don't know if you know this, but LA Knight came in at like $50,000 a year when he signed with NXT, which is insane to me. So I do think they need to do something. I don't know if unions are the best way to fix it because it causes a lot more problems than it really solves. And, if I wrestle if I'm WWE and we're in Canada or that, they're going international a lot now. So if they bring in some local talent for the night, they're not going to get the same rights because of it, they're not indebted to U.S. law if you're in England. So it's difficult with wrestling, whereas basketball and football are a little bit easier to do with the Players Association. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming. Before we move on to Kara's question, let's talk about TNA for a minute. Since we brought up Scott D'Amore, I think it's dumb to let him go.
Exactly. He brought coming back to life. Like he was with y'all through the ups and the downs, especially the downs. Yeah. He resurrected this company out of the
he made it quite honestly, in my opinion, equal to, if not better than AEW. And I mean, they had some pretty bad periods of booking after Matt Hardy left. Like it completely went to shit.
That global force stuff.
Yeah, that global force stuff. Dixie, Jeff Jarrett, all of that stuff. So for the more to come and basically get it to a point to where people are watching it again, for the most part, there's an audience for you to let him go because he wants to spend a little bit more to get good name talent like Nick Nemeth on the product. There's also rumors that he sort of offered to buy it from, I guess it's Anthem Entertainment that owns it. He offered to buy it from them, and they turned him down and then fired him. That's crazy if that's what actually happened. Like, I don't know. I feel like this decision hurts the rebrand a lot because they're going to be cheap. I think a lot of talent's going to leave.
So going off into like hypothetical worlds, we both agree it was stupid for them to get rid of Nick, get rid of Scott. Yeah. So my first question to pose to is: do you think Scott would or do you think a company would benefit by bringing Scott in as like a writer, or like say WWE or AEW would benefit from bringing in Scott?
I think he's a benefit. Absolutely. He deserves a job in wrestling. I don't know how much of a benefit he brings to WWE because they got a decent writing team now. So, I mean, absolutely bring him in if you have a room to fit him in. But he'll definitely have to take like a back seat to being like in control. Whereas I think AEW will benefit the most from bringing someone like Tony Khan. Please hire Scott D'Amore. Have him be your head booker. Drop back. Go focus on the rest of your sports teams. Just be an owner for once. And let someone who knows wrestling handle the wrestling part. Yeah. And I think that would drastically change how AEW is presented and probably for the better.
Now, my other proposition to you, my other question to pose to you. This one you might need a little more time to sleep on, but your initial thought is so with Anthem kind of taking, having full control of, TNA, I'm not sure who they bring in for booking wise or whatever. I don't know who they bring in to replace him. If they just, give some guy a promotion to take his spot, or they bring in someone else.
That's what they did. I forgot his name's like Anthony something. He's some corporate guy at Anthem, knows nothing about the business.
So I don't, I'm under the assumption that I don't think that their price tag would be too expensive. What would your thought process be if WWE bought TNA?
So I've been under this assumption for a long time. And by a long time, I mean about a month. That WWE is about to buy TNA. I'm 100% behind that. I think Endeavor, as soon as I heard that Endeavor got involved with the app for Impact and their streaming service, Endeavor is the one that there's a company that Endeavor owns that does their streaming service now. Their TNA Plus. As soon as I heard that, I started to wonder maybe this type of decision is they're doing sort of what WWE did prior to the merger and sort of cutting the loose fat of the roster and all the extra expenses that didn't need to be spent. And so I don't think it's that far out of the imagination that Endeavor does either merge TNA with WWE or just buys them outright. I definitely think that that's a possibility.
Now, would you buy them and keep them afloat, and like kind of like have them operate on their own, as far as like maybe like another promote or another brand?
Yes.
Or would you buy them almost like a WCW, take in their whole catalog, their library, take in some of the wrestlers, but then kind of get rid of.
I would do it. I would keep TNA as TNA. I wouldn't call it WWE, just for the mere fact that it presents the illusion of competition. What made the Attitude Era so good was that there was competition and WWE full-fledged, especially like the invasion angle once they bought WCW. That was some of the best product we've seen in WWE because there was a sort of made up idea of, hey, WWE owns both of these companies. Most people didn't recognize it, or maybe they knew it but didn't really care. But we had WCW and you had WWE, and so when that sort of invasion angle stopped, they started like this brand split. There was Raw and there was SmackDown to give this fake idea of competition. And so I definitely, if Endeavor buys TNA, keep them as TNA, and create this sort of interlocked like storyline of, Survivor Series can become TNA versus WWE now.
Okay.
Type thing. So I definitely think just to sort of promote the idea of competition, don't put them together. I think that was sort of the idea Tony Khan wanted to do when he bought ROH. But he sort of has missed the mark with it because ROH isn't on TV.
What would stop TNA from becoming ECW 2005?
Well, the fact that Vince McMahon's not there is a good thing.
Okay.
But that's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer right now. I don't necessarily. There's nothing really in place that would stop it from happening. I think Triple H is a little bit smarter than that.
Because I mean, I enjoyed the first year and a half of like that ECW reboot.
Right.
Kind of have like the new breed versus the originals.
Right.
But then like after that initial push, it just became like, here's where the C tier level superstars go.
Right.
And
I mean, it could turn into that. Absolutely. Again, I think Triple H and what he's built, and I still don't think Triple H is like a booking god like a lot of these WWE people say he is. I think he has his moments where he's really good, and he has some moments where I question what the hell he's doing. But I think he's done enough to, honestly, I feel like if you buy TNA and just let them run the way they've been running, and Triple H is just sort of overseeing it, I think Triple H has a respect for the indie scene and a lot of this wrestling in general to leave it alone. Whereas Vince wanted everything to be his. And so if it was sort of like when he brought in Sting, he's going to bring in Sting and he'll be happy that Sting is there. But Sting was never going to beat Triple H because that would mean WCW got the last laugh.
No,
so
if I was WWE / Triple H or TKO or whatever, the way I would kind of go about this, I would buy TNA just for their library alone.
Just the library, yeah.
Because like that right there could that alone connects Sting by itself going from WCW. What did he do for all these years before he came back in 2014 or whatever it
Right.
was? Oh, he was wrestling in
AJ
TNA for all these
Styles,
years.
AJ Styles,
all these Samoa Joe. You could do like full career
documentaries.
documentaries on these guys that make their own money themselves. But then also you so you buy it for their catalog. You can use it for your superstars that came in and out the company or whatever.
But even some like the trademarks, like the X Division, King of the Mountain, stuff like that. If a King of the Mountain match for like a cruiserweight championship would be insane.
You can even do some. You can an R-Truth documentary. He was a big part of that TNA NWA. Yep. But then also after you get outside the library aspect of it, I would put superstars like AJ Styles in charge of TNA. Like that's his baby. So like when AJ's kind of done, calling it a career, like in-ring wrestling career, I would put him in charge of their kind of like how you have HBK in charge of NXT.
Right.
I would send the likes of AJ, CM Punk over to TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like have them run that, be the booker / writing team, kind of get their own team together over there.
Right.
And have that be their baby that they, that they bring up and running. And at that point, once TNA's up and running, they're under the WWE umbrella. They'll get all the WWE marketing, all the WWE promotion. They'll get the WWE machine behind them, and then you can tour it around the country to a smaller extent.
Right.
It could be like I'm not saying go to TD Garden and Madison Square Garden. Right. You can go to those secondary, thirdary locations.
Yeah, it could sort of be a more
what AEW should be doing.
Well, that, but it could sort of be like NXT on steroids, because NXT tours around Florida, but they don't go outside of Florida. So you could sort of, again, let it be its own thing. You don't want to sort of mimic anything, but yeah, I'm down with that idea. Sort of tour it around, have people who are familiar faces to that AJ Styles, CM Punk. I mean, even someone like Cody Rhodes or Drew McIntyre.
You could put your indie sweethearts over there.
Yep.
So that way your indie sweethearts aren't being mixed in with your NXT homegrown talent.
Ricochet, guys like that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yo Triple H, bro. TKO. Hire us, bro. Hire us.
Sir.
Hire us.
Let's get this question from Kara here. She said, my question for this episode: so with the animosity coming out of the press conference, do you think it's possible they're teasing one more match for Triple H versus The Rock?
I kind of answered this question for her a little bit in chat. So definitely not as far as Triple H coming out of retirement. Like, man got a whole peacekeeper, whatever in his chest. So he's definitely not wrestling. But I can see it going along the lines of like Vince versus Trump from like WrestleMania, where they have like a representative,
right?
You can represent them. They kind of fight for control of the company.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not a single chance in hell that Triple H gets between the ropes ever again.
Can I see Triple H hit maybe like a pedigree with the rest back turned or during a promo? Sure. But man's not doing a match.
Man's not running a match, not at all. Plus, I don't know, man. Even before the pacemaker, that match he did with Shawn Michaels at Crown Jewel was a clusterfuck and a half.
If they do go the route where they have like an avatar represent them, so like The Rock maybe brings in like Solo Sikoa,
right,
as his representative, and then Triple H brings in like. Who would Triple H bring in to represent him in the company?
Seth, Randy.
Seth is a good option.
Yeah.
So have we gotten a Solo Sikoa versus Seth Rollins match yet?
We have not.
Because Seth's been on Raw and Solo.
But I think it could be a way. Like, honestly, like, imagine like Triple H costing Roman the title, and have Cody win. So now Roman's going after Seth. Roman and Seth, that's a match we've never got a clean finish to in this sort of version of Roman Reigns. Because the last time it happened, like 3 years ago, it ended in DQ. So that's been the match everyone sort of wanted. But I can even see it in a way where Triple H cost Cody the title because of the sort of like backstage, like AEW type. And I don't think Triple H, I don't think is that type of booker where he puts like personal grudges on TV. I don't even think he cares, to be honest with you. But you could sort of play to what the fans want, or think, and have Triple H sort of turn heel and cost Cody the match and say, you crashed my my throne. You crashed my throne, so you're never, I crashed your story type thing.
Let me cut. I got you. Let me cut that. I got you.
Right.
So we get Vince McMahon versus Nexus 2.0. Hear me out. Survivor Series, okay? For like control of the company. Team Rock versus Team Triple H. On the Rock side, you got his family.
Right.
You got Solo. You got Jimmy. You got Roman. You bring in like Jacob. You bring in Zilla. You know what I'm saying? Bring those guys in. Triple H's side, you got Seth. You can bring in a Cody, but I want to keep it like Triple H guys. You got your Seth Rollins. You got like your Johnny Gargano, your Kevin Owens. You bring in like his NXT Black and Gold guys. You know what I'm saying?
Drew, Tommaso.
Yes, and you have your Team Triple H versus Team Rock, Survivor Series for control of the company. Boom.
We got to get Adam Cole back because that's the biggest Triple H guy.
Adam Cole, baby. How far along is he until he heals up? Any word?
I haven't heard anything about it.
Has he been on TV lately? I haven't been watching AEW.
I haven't been paying attention, to be honest with you.
Yo, Junkyard, hit me up. Let me know what the status is on, on Adam Cole.
Right. We might have to watch on Thursday and ask that question.
Wednesday, right?
I think they do it Thursday. No, I think they do it Thursday.
Oh no! I thought you meant Dynamite.
Yeah. No, I mean we could watch Dynamite, but
the podcast is on Thursday. You're right.
Yeah. All right, so we'll end this episode, and I haven't really given this one much thought, so I'm gonna have to go and sort of wing this one. But it is Thirsty Tuesday, same rules as always. Of these 4 women, who would you choose to go on a date with? From WWE main roster, just called up Tiffany Stratton. From NXT, we have Thea Hale. From AEW, we have Julia Hart. And from Impact, we have Zaya Brookside.
I'll give my quick rankings. I gotta go pee. I'll give my quick rankings. Number 1, Tiffany Stratton. I feel like that's a given.
Right.
Yo, Ludwig Kaiser, you a lucky man. You know what I'm saying? Keep it up. Also, congrats on you guys. You guys just got your dream apartment. So they just got their dream apartment together. So shout out to Ludwig and Tiffany Stratton. Number 2, we are going Zaya Brookside. You know what I'm saying? I'm not familiar with her, but just based on the picture that you provided me, she looking fine. Here's the curveball. Number 3, we're going Julia Hart.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then number 4, we're going Thea. The reason we're going her number 4 because she's like 19 years old. She's like a year removed from high school. Younger Dev probably would put her like first or second, but yeah, the age is throwing me off. So she's definitely last option.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with you on Thea Hale. She's last. I'm sorry. I just putting her on this list is kind of like I don't know if I should do this. But then Julia Hart's 3 for me. I'm gonna swap it up a little bit. Tiffany Stratton's number 2.
Okay.
And Zaya Brookside. Now I've personally have met Zaya Brookside, and she's a nice lady. So I know her. I've spoken to her. So I know a little bit. I like her wrestling style. I wish she would have been bigger in NXT before they cut her. But not everyone can make it in WWE. But yeah, so I'm gonna have Zaya Brookside at number 1.
I'm saying me and Tiffy time about get sexy time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm about to be my usher bag. And you say, Daddy's home over there.
Right. All right. So this has been another episode of the Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast. That's DJ Wavy D. I'm WeTooDeep. As always, go and like, share, subscribe, share this to all your friends, introduce them to the show. This is for casuals, by casuals. You know, we like to have some fun here.
We're a little more than casuals.
A little bit more. Just a little bit. But if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. Let us know you like the show. Leave some comments. You know, if you're not in the Discord, go over there and join the conversation. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, leave us a review. We do appreciate those. Tell us how you feel about the show, especially them 5-star reviews. And and with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And you're not gonna get a WeTooDeep random rant this week. I ain't got nothing to rant about.
Yeah,
got that out of my
system. He's very content. Yo, rant about Valentine's Day. Give him a Valentine's Day rant.
All right, we'll see if I can do something like that. But if anything does else come out, it will be on Friday when I'm off work. But other than that, hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you same time, same channel, right here on the Slap and Meat Wrestling Podcast.
Brother, I'm going, run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like, get some moment.